Okay, so now we'll look at this blood glucose homeostasis and what are the learning outcome that we are going to learn for today. Okay, so we're going to focus number 1, number 2, and number 3, okay, for today. So what we're going to do here is we need to learn, okay, or we need to we need to know how to explain how the blood glucose concentration is regulated by negative feedback control mechanism, where we have learned yesterday. And we look at this negative feedback control mechanism by reference to these insulins and glucagons, okay, these two hormone, insulin and glucagon. Okay, so before going to this insulin glucagon, we're also going to learn a little bit ES topics. It's a repetition of ES topic, where we're going to look at this lipid soluble hormone versus the water soluble hormones. Okay, so next. So in terms of glucagons, okay, adrenaline, I'll put it aside, but in terms of glucagons, okay, outline the role of cyclic AMP as a second messenger with a reference to the stimulation of the liver cell by adrenaline and glucagons. But our focus is say that first glucagon, but both of them have the same pathway. Yeah? Both of them have same pathway. Okay, we're going to look at the cyclic AMP. So we're going to look at the cell signaling pathway when we talk about the GPCR, a G protein couple receptor. Okay, and the third one we're going to learn here is the 3 main stages of the cell signaling, okay, in the control of blood glucose by adrenaline. So first you have a hormone receptor interaction, formation of the cyclic AMP, and enzyme cascade involve the activation enzyme by phosphorylations to amplify the signal. Okay, so these 3, and the last part we're going to look at the diabetes mellitus, right? Diabetes mellitus, and how we actually, what are the management we can do, and how we monitor by using the dipstick and also the biosensor. We have these two called dipstick, the urine basically. Dipstick is for urine, okay? You just pass on urine, and then we dip this reagent strip into the urine, and we will be able to know what is the measurement, say, of the glucose in your blood or in your urine, okay? And what are the enzymes involved here? You need to know, we need to know here is a glucose oxidase and also peroxidase enzymes. Okay, so we're going to start the first one. We're going to talk about endocrine system. Okay, a quick one, endocrine system. Basically, when we use the word gland, so a gland is an organ. It's an organ. What will they do? What they do? They actually produce and release substances. They produce and release substances, okay, to perform a specific functions in the body. Are you clear? For example, salivary glands produce saliva that contain the enzyme. It's a gland. Can you see that? Sweat glands produce sweat. So that was a specific function, cooling effect. Can you see that? Okay. So there are 2 types of glands. Okay, 2 types of glands. So one we call them as endocrine glands. Another one is exocrine glands. So when we use the word endo, mean inside, exo mean outside. So exocrine glands, basically the secretion will be secreted onto the surface of epithelium. For example, on your skin, your mouth epithelium secretion. Endocrine system means that the secretion will be empty, okay, or secreted into the blood capillary. Are you clear? It will be enter into the capillary. So endo, always inside the blood capillary. Are you clear? It won't be secreted onto the surface of epithelium. Okay, so that's why we differentiate between endocrines and exocrine glands. So let us look at the differences between these 2 types of glands. One is endocrine, another exocrine. So our syllabus only endocrine. Okay, exocrine is actually extra information, but we can look at the differences here. The secretory products, what they secrete. Endocrine, one thing, hormone. It can be lipid soluble hormone. It can be the water soluble hormone. Exocrine. When I use the word exocrine, it's more what could this the products will be quite, broad, okay, in terms of this. So when we have sweat, you can have enzyme, for example, our digestive enzymes, mucus in the trachea, okay, sebums on your skin, okay. So those are the glands that secrete the products onto the epithelium surface, okay. So involvement of duct. So what is the involvement of duct? Basically, you need a channel to transport the secretion, but endocrine glands do not involve any ducts because the product will be released directly into the bloodstream, means that straight away into the blood capillary. But even though I use the word directly, it doesn't mean that immediately. So if this is the glands, so this capillary, so the secretions will enter into the tissue fluid and then straight away enter into the blood capillary. So this is endo. How about exo? Exo, you have a gland, but this gland will be connected to a channel. So this channel, okay, so this channel will be is known as a duct. So this is the epithelium. So this group of cell, okay, this group of cell secretes the secretions, and secretion will be transported in the duct onto the surface of the epithelium. Are you clear? Okay, so this one is exocrine glands. So that's why exocrine glands require a duct. Okay, so the products are released onto these internal organs or the external surface through a duct. So either internal organ or external surface, those are the epithelial surface. Okay, example that we're going to learn here, example, okay, adrenal glands, we're going to learn. Pituitary glands, we're going to learn. Okay, thyroid, not really. Then how about exocrine glands? Salivary glands, pancreas, liver, those can be the exocrine glands. For example, pancreas. Pancreas actually release the pancreatic juice through the ducts. Okay, so we're going to look into the detail about this later. So can you see that the structure endocrine? So these are the cells. The cell release, okay, by exocytosis. Can you see that? Into the tissue fluid, from the tissue fluid enter into the blood capillary. How about these exocrine glands? Exocrine glands, can you see that? They empty or secretions into the duct, and the ducts then enter to the surface of the epithelium. Okay, so can you see that? This is a blood vessel, but blood vessel does not involve in the transportations of the secretions of the exocrine glands. So what is a hormone? We talk about the hormones. Hormones is any number of class of the signaling molecule produced by the glands and transported by circulatory system, particularly our blood or blood vessel, okay, through a blood vessel. So what is the role of hormones? What is the role of hormones? Hormones basically act as a communication between the organs and the tissues for physiological regulation, such as homeostasis. For example, blood glucose. Blood glucose, you can see that involve the hormone, insulin, and glucagon. Growth and development, your growth hormone make you, become taller. Metabolism, okay, metabolism, for example, in a crisis, okay, in certain crises, you need to have more heartbeat increase, right? You need the ATP, so then you can see that you're going to have the adrenaline, for example, okay? So sexual functions and reproduction, example, our steroid hormone, the sex hormone, testosterone for male, progesterone, estrogen for female, okay? And then mood manipulations also will be, hormone will be involved in these mood manipulations, okay? Particularly, you can see that when, in female, okay, when you have your menstrual cycle, the first few days of the day, a few days before your menstruations, the start of your period, there's a change in the hormonal level, so mood swing. It depends. Some of the girls may experience this mood swing. Okay, so hormones, we can classify them into two categories. The broad category, okay, previously they call it as the polypeptide hormones and also steroid hormone. But nowadays, with the discovery of more and more hormones, then we know that we cannot differentiate them only based on polypeptide hormones or steroid hormones. Some of the hormones, they are not polypeptide hormone, okay, are not steroid hormone as well. But we can group them into these two broad classes, which are water-soluble hormones versus the lipid-soluble hormone. So what is the difference? The main differences between these two hormones, basically, if the water-soluble hormone, they won't be able to diffuse across the phospholipid bilayer. Okay, for water-soluble hormones, they are hydrophilic, so they won't be able to diffuse across the phospholipid bilayer, again, the plasma membrane. So therefore, the receptor must be on the membrane. So we call it membrane receptor. For example, later we're going to learn about this G protein couple receptor, where the glucagons are going to bind. So means that this water-soluble hormone won't be able to pass on the message to and result in the cellular response directly. So means that they must go through this membrane receptor. So membrane receptor will trigger a series of reactions until we get the second messenger. In our syllabus, the cyclic ANP is one of the second messenger that we need to know. And second messenger going to activate the cascade activations until we get the cellular response. For example, decrease the blood glucose concentration. So these are water-soluble hormones, the way. Okay, so water-soluble hormone bind to the membrane receptor. But compared to the lipid-soluble hormone, so for lipid-soluble hormones, then you can see that they can diffuse across the phospholipid bilayer. So means that their receptor not necessarily must be on the membrane. Now, don't have this wrong concept that for lipid-soluble hormones, the receptor cannot be on the membrane. Receptors still can be located on the membrane. Are you clear? But generally speaking, when talk about lipid-soluble hormones, their receptor can be inside the cytoplasm. So it means that the hormones can diffuse across the phospholipid bilayer, bind to the receptor either at the cytoplasm or nucleoplasm to form a complex, and this complex can help either in terms of the transcription factor, act as a transcription factor, or it might be involved in the gene regulation so that a particular enzyme can be synthesized and give us the cellular response. Okay, so these are very important. Please highlight, because the question asked before for the compare between these two kinds of hormone. Okay, and in water-soluble hormones, we are going to use the glucagon adrenalines as our model. Lipid-soluble hormone, we're going to look at the progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, and cortisol hormone. Okay, as our model. So whether they are able to diffuse across the cell membrane or not, for the water-soluble hormone, and we say that they are unable to diffuse across the cell membrane because they are hydrophilic. They are polar, they are hydrophilic. So means that they won't be able to cross the cell membranes. Okay, but for lipid-soluble hormones, yes, they are able to diffuse across the cells and also the cell membranes and also the nuclear membranes. Okay, so locations of the receptor. So receptor for the hormones need to be located on the plasma membrane. Are you clear? Means that confirm must be on plasma membrane. If they are not on the plasma membranes, then it's useless because the hormones won't be able to diffuse across the phospholipid bilayer. Okay. How about lipid-soluble hormones? No issues. Lipid-soluble hormone, the receptor do not need to be, although they sometimes are located in the cell membrane. So you can write down actually where you can find it. We can find it at the cell membrane. Sorry. So either cell membrane, right, on the cell membrane, cytoplasm, or nucleoplasm. So generally it will be these two, cytoplasm, nucleoplasm. Because why? Because the hormones, the lipid-soluble hormone, can diffuse across the phospholipid bilayer. So what is the mechanism of action? So generally, when following an interaction with the hormones, a cascade of the secondary effects within the cytoplasm of the cell is triggered. Often involve the addition or removal of the phosphate group, okay, to the cytoplasmic protein and increase in the concentrations of the intracellular molecule that may act as a secondary messenger, for example, in our syllabus, cyclic AMP. Okay, we're going to learn this one later when we talk about the glucose, okay, so glucagons, okay. And then, so how about lipid soluble hormones? Upon binding, okay, by the hormone, the receptor undergo a conformational change, and the receptor together with the bound hormone will affect the transcription, either alone or association with other transcription factor. So it means that one is actually cause activations and deactivations. Another one actually is, right, for the lipid soluble hormones involved in the gene expression. Okay. So since we're going to talk about the glucagons and the insulins, we cannot run away from the pancreas because the pancreas is the one that actually release the glucagons and insulins. Okay. So in humans, sorry, what am I doing? In humans, so where you can find the pancreas is the abdominal cavity there, okay? So the pancreas actually is special for pancreas because it can act as endocrines as well as the exocrine function. So you look at the diagrams here. So you can see that this is our pancreas nearby to our stomach. This is a duodenum and then small intestine. So if you look at the structure here, you can look at the structure here, you will be able to see that, okay, they have the pancreatic duct. It's the one that later going to empty, okay, the pancreatic juice onto the surface of the duodenum. Okay, so if you look at the structure, here, okay, you can see that's the dark, okay, dark pink color, the histology here. Can you see that dark, okay, purple color, not pink, but purple color here. So these are the acini cells. Acini, it form the acini. We call pancreatic acini. Pancreatic acini is the one that going to produce the pancreatic juice. So that's why you can see that they form a duct. Can you see that circle? They form the duct. Can you see that? So these ducts, the lumen here will be the ducts from here, allowing the pancreatic juice to be released to the surface of the duodenum. So therefore, pancreas, part of the pancreas, about 90%, okay, a pancreas, the mass of pancreas consists of this acini. Are you clear? So acini function as the exocrine. Okay, exocrine glands. Okay, so surrounded by these acini, you can see that we have a patch of cells. So this patch of cell is known as eyelids of Langerhans. Okay, eyelids of Langerhans. So these eyelids of Langerhans consist of 4 different types of cells. 4 different types of cells, which are alpha, beta. So highlight these two because in our syllabus, we're going to focus in these 2 cells, alpha cells and beta cells. And other 2 types of cells that are not in our syllabus, delta cells as well as the PP cell. Okay, PP stand for pancreatic polypeptides. Okay, PP stand for pancreatic polypeptides. Okay, so very important for these eyelids of Langerhans. If you look at eyelids of Langerhans, we will see the blood capillary or blood vessel here. Do you realize that? Here we have the blood vessel. It's because eyelids of Langerhans act as the endocrine glands. When it acts as an endocrine glands, so it means that they don't have a special duct like this to transport the hormones. So because of endocrine glands, they need the blood vessel to help to transport this hormone to the target organ. So we need to know alpha cells secrete glucagon, beta cells secretes the insulin. So these 2 hormones will be involved in the regulations of the blood glucose level. Are you clear? Okay, so remember your description here is the eyelids of Langerhans. Eyelids of Langerhans act as the endocrine glands. And these endocrine glands actually consist of 4 different types of cells, but for us in A level, at least we need to know these 2 types of cells, alpha cells and beta cells, where alpha cells secrete glucagons, beta cells secrete insulin. Okay, so therefore, pancreas, if you look at pancreas, pancreas actually have dual functions here. It can serve as endocrine as well as the exocrines. So endocrine because they secrete two kinds of hormones that we in our syllabus, glucagon and insulin. Exocrine because of the pancreatic enzyme or juice. Are you clear? Pancreatic enzyme or juice. So that's why pancreas actually is a mixed gland. Okay, we call it a mixed gland, both. Okay, but for today, our syllabus, we only focus at the endocrine glands, okay, of the pancreas. So exocrine glands make up about 90 to 99% of pancreas by the weight. It form this IC9. So what they do, they secrete and produce and secrete digestive enzyme to the gut. So it means that is the exocrine tissues. Okay, endocrines, eyelids of Langerhans. So we have alpha cells secrete glucagon, beta cell to secrete insulin. Okay, so with this, I stop. Okay, the first part of the recording.